What is up, everybody? And in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how you can perfect your catch so you can maximize connection, maximize boat run, and minimize damage at the place that is the easiest to kill boat speed. So we're going to be going through a couple of misconceptions that I've found in my experience, as well as the two phases that there are for you to work through to ensure that you have a proper catch. So for me, first off, for those that are new here, my name is Jack Burns. I'm the founder of Edge Rowing. I'm a former GB rower. We work with busy professionals over the age of 40, getting them rowing to the best versions of themselves. And yeah, one thing that helped me progress my technique relatively quickly was my my catch. And while I didn't have much stability, I had pretty messy finishes. One thing I do think I did well, especially going back and looking at old footage, is that I picked up my catch nicely. So we have loads and loads of experience of teaching people how to put the blade into the water, coaching people one-to-one. As well as ourselves and our coaching team. We've all rowed to the highest level. And yeah, the big thing about it is just going through a step-by-step process, a checklist, making sure everything's in order, and then the catch will take care of itself. So there's phase one, which is the preparation, and then there's phase two, which is the actual placement itself. Now, if you never get phase one right, I'm trying to keep some videos playing in the background so it's entertaining as I talk. There we go. That'll do. So yeah, phase one is the preparation. Phase two is the actual placement itself. If you do not get phase one right, you're never going to maximize how well you place the blade. So it's, we'll go through that. And then phase two as well really does, I break down the misconception that there is around having a fast catch. And we all know in rowing that you need to be fast at the catch. We see some of the best rowers in the world. Their catch is super fast. And people go about replicating that in the wrong way. They get the ratios of it all wrong. It means that they kill boat run. They check on the stern when they push. They don't get as connected as they could. Also, I was a relatively short rower, meaning I was 6 foot. Okay, so I know it's not short, but I say relatively short compared to people who are 6'9". And the catch is a really, really important part for anybody, but especially if you've not got all the length in the world to be working with. You need to make sure that as soon as you put your blade in, you're connected and you're working. So the first thing to cover is, maybe to fast forward a little bit, what we want is to be going into the catch squared and prepared. And if you are to come in squared and prepared and have a simple placement, you need to make sure that your hands are low so that you can have a direct lift. So that means coming in low with your hands so that you can square early and then lift up. Whereas what most people do is they carry their hands high, and then when it comes to turning the blade square to create space, they have to dip their hands down and then lift their hands back up. So what this means is you need to carry your hands lower on the recovery. So you can see here, as I come out of the finish, there's daylight in between the bottom of the spoon and the water, and I carry that low hand path going into the catch so that I can square and then lift from there rather than push the hands down, put the training wheels back on, and then dip again. Now, you have to be okay with leaving your comfort zone with this and the boat feeling unstable, and any form of if technical changes were easy to make, you would have already made them. So the thing with rowing is I always kind of describe it like it's a competition of who can stand in a room and bang their head against the wall without any promise of payoff and do that for the longest, and the last person to leave the room wins. It's a competition of delayed gratification. So the more you can buy into changes like this, where tapping your hands down is going to make you more unstable in the short term, it does mean that you're going to learn how to pick up or balance the boat in the longer term. And it also means you're going to be coming into the catch in a much better position. So do it. Keep your hands lower. Let the boat be unstable. You will get better at it. Just keep doing it. So that's the first thing. Now, This is the last video I did was about balance. And a big part about balance for me is getting your weight when you rock over, getting your weight onto the foot plate. And what this does, to give you a kind of brief summary, gets your weight down low, lowers your center of gravity, it's easier to balance. The other thing that it does is it gets your weight onto the foot plate so that you're ready then to push off. So this is a little bit about how you get the drive right. So I'm not going to go into this in detail. Again, this is purely focused on, blade placement and the catch, but something that is important as well, because it gives you the stability and it also helps you be connected early, which again, I talked about earlier, how that's important. So get your weight rocked onto the foot plate. Now, a big thing. I always like to look at, what are the differences and what are the similarities with the best rowers in the world, and different training programs, even different catches or different ways of sequencing. One of the most common things that I see amongst the best rowers in the world is that from about kind of quarter slide or half slide, they are incredibly still with their body. Like as soon as they, especially at the low rates, they get rocked over. And then from this position, nothing else in the upper body changes. In there, I know I'm kind of like grimacing a little bit here. But from the chest, from kind of the hips up, nothing else changes. They're super still here. The traps don't shrug up as they slide forward. There's no lunging with the chest. There's no chin movement. And they're just incredibly still going in and going out. And the way I like to describe this when we're coaching people one-to-one, like when we do our one-to-one coaching or when we're doing a technical workshop, where we'll have people share their footage that they've recorded in the boat with the cameras we send them or on the rowing machine, is we'll say like, look at, I think this will work here. So imagine you've cut off, oh shit, my dog, I don't know if you guys can hear that, Tokyo. He's howling in the background. Anytime there's a dentist across the street and their alarm goes off all the time, and anytime he hears an alarm, he howls. But anyways, the catch, like if we're to just crop off this top part of the body, whether you're going in or you're going out, you should almost see nothing. There should be very, very little change. Even when you take the drive, you shouldn't be able to see as much of those kind of shoulders going up and going down. So something else you can do for this is, on the rowing machine, that's a pretty good drawing actually for me, I have to say. On the rowing machine, when you're wherever you use the rowing machine, get a mirror positioned so that you can just see this front half of the recovery just in the upper body. And as you slide in and slide out, that last little part of the recovery and the drive, you should be able to see your chest staying still going in and going out. And why we want to do this is because at the catch, we want to use as much of our legs as possible and as little of our upper body as possible. And when you lunge, what you do, the last thing that you do on the way in is the first thing that you do on the way out. So if you lunge going in, the first thing you're going to do on the way out is open your back. And getting to one of the other points, if the last thing you're doing is all this squaring shit right before you take the catch, you're going to be really tense in your forearms and it's going to be really hard to not load through your upper body. So this is where preparation and being squared and being still and rocked over and loose allows you to be still going in and allows you to have a smooth, clean pickup. And again, lunging at the catch, that's something else that, dips on the stern. You've already got all your weight onto the foot plate here and onto the stern. If you then lunge again, it's like you're just killing that boat run. And that water running up and down the hull, causes extra water resistance, which is not what we want. So be still, slide in, slide out. Like even an exercise you can try is I could demonstrate it here. Imagine you're in this rocked forward position, slide in, I take the catch, I slide back, slide in, slide out. It's that same idea. The erg is a really, really, really good place to do this. And a lot of my technical strengths came from things I developed on the rowing machine. So don't be that person that just switches off on the rowing machine and doesn't see the opportunity that is there. But yeah. So the next thing, square your blades. All right. This is, that little rant I did at the start about how you need to be okay with instability as you tap your hands lower. Same thing with square blade rowing or early squaring. You need to be okay with the boat feeling bad in the short term. You need to get used to that feeling of being squared and clipping the water and not letting it affect you. So the mistake I'll see rowers making is when they clip the blade when they're squared, they tense up, they let it affect them, they shorten up, they panic, they rush the slide. You need to get okay with 1, squaring the blade earlier, and then 2, not letting clipping the water affect how you row. You're in charge of how you row. You tell the boat what to do. You don't let the boat tell you what to do. Okay, squaring early, it just allows you, it's like packing your bags for the holiday. You get them squared early. It means that you can just enjoy that last little float forward into the catch. And going back to that last point about stillness, all you need to do is just take your weight off the handle. You don't need to, do all this stuff last minute to square and flick your forearms and, you're just squared and prepared. It's like studying for a test, you just want to be able to show up, know that you have everything ready and drop the blade in. And at low rates, you want to almost exaggerate this because obviously you have less time at higher rates. So if you exaggerate this at the low rates, it just helps build in that pattern. So yeah, a big one. And again, it goes back to that point about the harder a change is to make normally, the more payoff there is when you bear through it. So yeah, getting faster in rowing is simple, but it's not easy. This covers everything. Stability, yeah, we covered stability. You want to be balanced going in. Obviously, you always want to be balanced, but it's not always within your control, depending on where you are, depending on how well you're progressing. But it obviously helps. So that's kind of more of an outcome, I would say. But it is something that, even just like rocking forward onto the foot plate can help with. So, phase 2. The placement. Now, the way we want to put the blade, if we think about the catch in 3 parts, if we think about it like number 1, the speed at which you arrive going into the catch. Number 2, hold on. So number 1 is the arrival. So that is, when you are coming from, the half slide through into the catch. If you think of that, about that part, is that last kind of rolling of the seats going into the catch and sliding in. Number 2 is the timing. So it's when do you initiate the lift? It's like how at what point do you lift your hands? Where in the recovery do you lift your hands? Do you lift it super early? Do you lift it as you're sliding forwards? Do you lift it when you are when you're at full slide and then wait for a moment and then hang around there with your blades in the air and then lift it? That's the timing. And then number 3, number 3 is how long it takes you to lift. How long to lift. So that means when your blade is above the water and then when your blade goes below the water, you're getting the blade from here to there. How long does that take? How much time do you spend letting that blade drop into the water? You can use your shoulders to muscle the blade in and really lift the blade in, or you can be really, really, really slow to let it go in. So those are the 3 parts. Now, what people do when they incorrect, and this is how we're very, very step-by-step orientated when we coach technique. And we find if it's this, my degree was in maths. So for us, it's about breaking it down, getting clear on the problem, If we're not clear on the problem, breaking it down into steps. If we're not clear on those steps, again, breaking it down, down, and down until it's clear, simple, and actionable processes that you can do, that you can focus on, that are going to help you make a change. Because a lot of the time you just get told, have a faster catch, or be more stable, or don't open your back. It's like, what is the actual thing that you need to focus on specifically that's going to help you make the change? That's just what we do when we coach people. It's just like, look at the footage. This is where you're going wrong. This is the exact change that you need to make. So for the 3 steps, where people go wrong is when they think about a fast catch, they rush here. So they go fast into the catch, they really slide forward, rah! And then when they get to the catch, they hang around with their blades all out of the water. So their timing is really late of like when they lift. And then how long they lift, they really rip the blades into the water. So I'll try and find what would be a good video to show. Obviously, I'm perfect, so a video of me wouldn't work. But anyways, what happens is they rush in, then they pause at the catch, and then they rush the blade, they pull the blade in really quickly and aggressively. And that's them thinking they have a fast catch. What you want is the exact opposite ratio. You want to be slow going into the catch because you're about to change direction. You know, if you rush in, when you go to change direction, it's going to be easier to kick. You know, think about you're carrying a tray of drinks and you want to stop and go the other direction. You wouldn't run forward and then stop because the beer or whatever would go everywhere. You'd slow down, then change direction. The next part is the timing of when you initiate that lift. That is the key to a perfect catch. That is the key. That is the most important thing to get right in the catch, in my opinion, to have a fast catch, is when do you lift? And it's basically as soon as, like, it's almost right before you get to the catch that you want to initiate that lift. It needs to almost feel too early. Lastly, you need to take time to let the blade go from here to there, because what is happening is as you're starting that lift and as you're placing as you go forward, an air pocket is forming on the front of the spoon. So I think I had a good video here that can show that. So here's a good example. As you lift, as you go forward, again, this is where the timing comes into it, is that air pocket is forming on the front of the spoon. And if you kick on that air pocket, you're going to kick the stern and you're going to damage the boat run. So you need to wait. You need to spend time waiting for that spoon, waiting for that pocket to fill with water, that air pocket to disappear. So that involves taking your time. And again, what people will do when they think about a fast catch is they just go, rah, rah, and they stab it in. Just stab it in gentle. Like imagine, you know, you've captured your arch nemesis. You're trying to make them suffer. You know, you stab it in slowly like that. You see that in the movies when they get the revenge on that guy who like killed their dad or whatever. Stab it slowly. Don't get it like. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, that's basically it. Good note to finish on. Slow to arrive. So all the preparation stuff, low hands. We'll get all this shit off the screen. Low hands, rocked on the foot plate, still, loose, squared, prepared, stable. Phase 2. Slow to arrive, quick to time, but then slow to let the blade fill. Hope that makes sense. Some good crews to watch. So Lauren Henry, for me, technical model right now that everybody should be copying. Big fan of her technique. Catches are really, really nice. And again, at the higher rates, it's going to be a bit less obvious. So if you see any low rate stuff from her, go follow it. Go follow her Instagram. The GB Rowing Team Instagram is pretty good for putting footage of them. And yeah, Imogen Grant as well. She posts stuff on her. I really like. She's really, really patient filling the spoon. Yeah, like this is her a couple of years ago, I think. But yeah, she's got really good patience and really good placement at the catch. Now, interestingly, another way of approaching the catch is almost kind of like bringing the blade in as you slide forward and not having that backsplash, and almost kind of like initiating that movement partially with your upper body a little bit here. You can see this Australian men's four, really nice technique, but they kind of lift the blade in a little bit by like opening their shoulders. And this is an example of where there's not necessarily a right or wrong, but for me, number one, the way that I've just described obviously is what I know best, and it's what I've seen the best scullers, in my opinion, do. And also, it's the best technique for amateurs, because especially like masters rowers, who is the only people we work with. Like, we only work with busy professionals over the age of 40. We don't work with high school students. Like, we're just focused on masters rowers. And mobility is a big part of getting the catch right. And to row like this, you need to have really good comfort and really good mobility to stay calm as you almost kind of open and put the blade in, because you need to be really gentle as you do that. If you're not gentle, you're going to kick on the stern. So, yeah, I mean, I could go down a rabbit hole explaining the differences between these two catches. I did an Instagram video on it a while ago. If you want me to do a YouTube video on it, let me know in the comments. But yeah, cool. So if you found this video useful, like it, subscribe. There's a technical checklist I should put in the description. And then also, depending on where we are, we may or may not have space for one-to-one coaching. So if you click the link, the video is working, that means we have space. You can apply to work with us, and we'll review your footage. Basically what we do, we send you a camera that you can attach to your stern, or you can attach side on to the boat. And then you film yourself, and then you send it to us. And we send all the attachments, instructions, and stuff like that you can do. And then we break down your footage in the same way I've just broken it down here. And like I said, step-by-step, process-focused, so you know exactly what action do you need to do, not what outcome. So, bye!